The morning was quiet, the kind of stillness that hangs heavy before a storm. Sarah's tires burst with a sharp pop, echoing across my pasture like a gunshot. She didn't yell or swear. She just stood there, her designer boots sinking into the mud, staring at the rusted metal spikes jutting from the dirt. Then her eyes locked on me, lounging on my porch with a steaming mug of coffee. My cows paused mid-chew, as if they knew the show was about to start. I've been waiting for this, and damn, it felt good. It all started with tire tracks. At first, I figured it was the delivery guy, swearing his GPS sent him through my field. But the ruts kept showing up, deep and deliberate, car VYing up the soft soil and freaking out my goats. Poor Daisy, my jumpiest nanny goat, wouldn't graze near the fence line anymore. One dawn, I was hauling a bucket of oats when I saw Ida, shiny silver SUV, tearing through my gate like it owned the place. The driver, Sarah, came within inches of clipping a calf, her tires chewing my grass to bits. I waved like a madman, heart pounding. She slammed on the brakes, kicking up dirt, and rolled down her window. Sunglasses, sleek ponytail, a smirk that screamed she was better than me. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to keep my cool. She leaned out, all smug, and said she'd been cutting through my land for weeks. Her shortcut, she called it. I pointed to the signs, the livestock, the fences I'd spent years fixing. She laughed, flashing a map on her phone. "My house, your field, fastest route to the road." Why waste time? I told her it was private property, that she was scaring my animals. She flicked her wrist like I was a mosquito and peeled out, Leah VYing me choking on dust. That night, I chained the gate and hung a sign, "Private property. No trespassing." By sunrise, the chain was cut, the sign smashed to splinters, and fresh tracks mocked me. This wasn't a mistake. This was a middle finger. Neighbors started talking about the silver SUV speeding through our sleepy roads. Old man Jenkins, a rancher with a laugh like gravel, said, "That's Sarah, HOA princess. Thinks she runs the whole damn county." Turns out, she lived in a fancy subby VY shown nearby, pushing for new roads and apparently car VYing one through my pasture. I called the sheriff, who said it was trespassing but hard to prove without damage. "Get proof," he told me. That night, staring at the moon, I thought of my grandpa, who'd hammered every post in these fences. "Folks respect what they earn," he'd say. Sarah saw me as a bump in her road, not a person. The next morning, she roared through again, Starbucks cup in hand, while VYing like we were buddies. My goats scattered, chickens squawked, and I lost it. A friend who knew property law confirmed Sarah had no claim, no easement, no right-of-way. I sent a certified letter, which she ignored like junk mail. So I got smart. I set up trail cameras by the bird feeders, catching every trespass with a timestamp. I studied her path to dip by the creek, the rise near the barn. I didn't want to fight, just justice. In Grandpa's dusty workshop, I found his old hog-proof spike strips, sharp as sin. I buried them along her route, smoothing the dirt to hide my trap. Then I waited, coffee in hand, Daisy grazing nearby. Dusk came, and so did Sarah's SUV, bold as ever. Pop, hiss, grind. Her tires blew, and the SUV lurched to a stop. She stepped out, staring at her flattened tires, then at me. I raised my mug. Daisy bleated. It was perfect. You'd think that'd stop her. Nope. By morning, Sarah had her HOA posse in my gate-folding chairs, signs screaming "Open access now," and yappy dogs in sweaters. It was ridiculous. My pasture wasn't a public park. I didn't argue. I set up a table with a laminated county map, my land outlined in red. Sarah's eyes narrowed, but she yelled that her husband was pushing the city for an easement. I knew she was full of it. I added more cameras, one at the gate, one by the creek. For 2 days, silence. Then at 6:30 a.m., my phone pinged. There was her SUV sneaking along the back fence, dodging the spikes. She'd mapped a new route, flattening grass and spooking my herd. One calf limped slightly, not bad, but enough to make my blood boil. The next morning, I stepped into her path as she rolled up. She stopped, window down, glaring like I was the problem. "Last warning," I said. She scoffed, muttering about her lawyer and zoning board friends. I told her they could walk my pasture anytime. She fumed, reversed, and left. Days later, a letter from the HOA claimed I was blocking a community path. Pure nonsense. I laughed, then called the county clerk for zoning records, which proved my land was mine. I got Hank, a retired property lawyer, to draft a cease and desist notice, notarized and filed. But Sarah didn't care about paper. So I got creative. I scattered hay bales, moved a feeding trough, and parked my rusty tractor by the creek. That evening, my cameras caught her SUV skidding to a stop, Sarah pacing in her boots, defeated by the tractor's bulk. She left, headlights off, humiliated. But she wasn't done. She started snapping pictures of my signs, my fences, building some kind of case. I doubled down more spikes, motion sensors, floodlights hidden in the brush. I knew her route like my own heartbeat, the oak curve by the creek. I buried new spikes, smoothed the dirt, and waited. At sunset, her SUV hit the trap. Pop! She paced, yelling into her phone. I sipped my coffee, unmoved. The sheriff showed up that night, looking tired but fair. I showed him the footage, the notice, the letter. He admitted Sarah's sabotage claims were shaky since she had no right to be there. She didn't take it well. By morning, her SUV sat across the road with a sign, "Beware dangerous property." Locals honked in support. One even dropped off a pie, saying Sarah had bullied them too. My cousin Dan, a retired surveyor, mapped my land and found Sarah's fence was on someone else's buffer zone, tanking her HOA cred. When she marched up, demanding if I'd spiked her tires, I handed her the survey and zoning docs. She tore them up, muttering about small-town nobodies. Then I spotted a car with binoculars watching my pasture. I played along, strolling the fence with a camera and clipboard, narrating like a nature show host. The watcher bolted, but Sarah kept scheming. A contractor showed up, claiming I'd requested an emergency access path. The signature was forged Sarah's doing. I filed a report, and the sheriff paid her a VY sit. Neighbors heard her yelling about slander. The HOA turned on her. At a packed meeting, board member Clara called out Sarah's trespassing, while VYing a VY Row news article about our feud. The board kicked Sarah out, electing Clara. Sarah's last jab was pathetic nails and glass dumped by my gate. My camera caught a blurry figure, not her, but her fingerprints were all over it. I cleaned it up, added another camera, and set out free pumpkins with a sign for good neighbors. No trap, just shade. Then came her lawsuit, claiming damages for tires, distress, and pasture sabotage. Hank laughed, building a binder of EVY DINSA cameras, notices, surveys, even the forged request. In court, Sarah's lawyer fumbled with old maps, claiming historic usage. The judge, unimpressed, asked for an easement. There was none. Hank laid out our case, the binder louder than any speech. The judge tossed Sarah's claims, ordering her to pay my costs and damages. She sat there, pearls shining, pride shattered. Her appeal flopped. The HOA banned her from the board for harassment. Her house hit the market private showings only. Rumor was she fled to the city, cursing our backwoods town. A note arrived later, with a photo of her dented SUV on a tow truck. She'd sold it, moved to her sister's, admitting pride had cost her. No sorry, just defeat. I hosted a barbecue for neighbors, swapping stories under the stars. Nobody mentioned Sarah, but her absence roared. I turned grandpa's shed into an honor stand for eggs and honey. Locals loved it. Tourists stopped by. A kid came once, saying her grandma told tales of the pasture defender. I laughed, gave her a tour. The land healed, Daisy grazed by the oak, and the grass grew greener, like it was finally free. Sarah thought she could steamroll what wasn't hers. Instead, she united us. Pro-VYing respect isn't taking its earned. And when it's not, the land fights back.